Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Phantom. This is going to be a lower time frame video. We do have a higher time frame video up above, so check that out if you haven't already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Before we jump into the lower degree counts, what we're going to talk about is a couple of the higher degree options that we are looking for here. So within this count here, what we are saying is that this whole move to the downside is A. We're looking for a three-wave move up for B, looking to target out $1.77 to this 52.31. We have come up into this zone already, so we need to be respectful that this B wave could be completed and we could be looking for this direct break to the downside. Now, if we are looking at this, however, I'm still anticipating that it would be better time-wise if we did see an additional move to the upside here for this B wave. Now, the way I would be looking at this would be treating this move as A, B, and then looking for this C wave. Now, it is also possible that this move could actually become 1, 2, and then if we do move past this 1618 here at this 195, that we could start to trend to the upside, but we need to see a much bigger 5-wave structure looking to push up into these highs for this to actually confirm. Now, if we are looking at this slightly different, what we could also argue here is that this move is corrective, and we take this from this point here where this is W, this is X, and we're looking for Y to the downside. In this case, the minimum requirement I'd be looking for would be this 1047, and what we'd be expecting to see here is a 3-wave move to the downside. So with this in mind, what we are looking for here is looking for that possibility that we could be forming something like this where we have just a bigger A, B, and a C. Now within this idea here, what we would be saying is that this structure to the downside could just be W, X, and Y, and then we could be looking for 3 waves up, and then we're going to see another break to the downside. So the key thing within this is that until we actually break back above this X wave high here of this 65 cents, we need to be on the lookout for this possibility. We could see this direct break to the downside. Now, once again, within this idea, we'd be looking for a 3-wave move to the upside, and then that continuation to the downside with this C wave. Now, there is also the potential here that we could argue that this move is still within a bigger 5-wave pattern from the top of this structure. And the way that we'd be looking at that is effectively saying that this is 1, 2, this is 3, this is 4, and what we're looking for is a 5th wave. Now, within this idea of having a 5-wave move to the downside, what we then be saying here is that we are looking at the potential that this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, the problem is internally, this doesn't make a lot of sense, and the only way that we can potentially count this move down as a 5-wave move so far would be looking at the idea that we've got an expanding diagonal. Now, these are not the most common structure here, so it is possible that this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as a diagonal pattern. And once again, we'll be looking for that possibility of 3 waves to the upside before continuation down within this idea. Invalidation of this comes above this 65.55. So with a lot of these options here, we're looking for at least a small bounce to the upside, or alternatively, within the bullish case, this small bounce turning into a bigger 5-wave structure. So we're going to be focusing in on those ideas within the video. Now, within the previous video, what we're talking about is the potential that we could look to find this B wave support already taking place over here. Now, if this is the case, we would expect to keep this low, and we'd be looking for that idea of a break to the upside. Now, within this idea, what we'd say is that if we're looking at this as a C wave, what we want to see is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to the upside. Within that idea of having this as a bigger 5-wave move, the thing that I'm currently looking for here is this white count. Now, within this white count, what we were discussing in the previous video was that we could have this potentially as a wave 1, and then we were looking for this wave 2. Now, we have come down very deep, so this is already starting to make this less likely, because we already came down to this 0.854, which is a very rare target for wave 2. Typically, we look to actually finish higher up. Now, if we are looking at this idea where we could complete into this low here at this 22.57, what we'd need to see then is a bigger move to the upside here, looking to target out this zone of this 45.67 within this idea of having this as a 3rd wave. Now, we need to start to see this move away from this zone. The longer this consolidates in this area here, the less likely it is going to be that we see something like this as a more bullish push to the upside. We need to be very careful here, because internally what we could have is that this move down was actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, the way that I'm looking at this is as an extension within the wave 1 here. And then what we're saying is that we have this smaller 3rd, 4th, and 5th wave to complete this move. Now, the key thing is that if we do have a move like this, we need to be careful, because as long as we stay below this high here, we can potentially just see 3 waves to the upside and then see continuation to the downside. If we come down here to the lower degree structure, what we would be looking for more locally here if we are looking for a breakout would be either two things. So I'm keeping a track of this as a regular A, B, and a C, in which case what we need to be mindful of is that if this is A, this is B, this is C, we have hit the 786. Now, because we've hit this 0.786, this could actually indicate a completed move here, and we could then just look to fall away and look to invalidate this idea of continuation up by crossing this 2255. This is our invalidation line. Now, if we do, however, look to hold this blue box area here, which would be between this 2381 to this 2302, what we could rather see here is that this move could still be within this blue count. Now, if we do look to hold this 786 at this 2302, then we could be looking for the possibility that this could actually become another 1-2 here, and then we look to rally in a bigger way. So within this idea, what we'd be saying is that if we do get this as 1-2 and we get a push up towards this 2667, now I've taken this off of this area here of this 0.618, which is sitting at this 2334. So if we do see a move down towards that level and then we look to push back to the upside here, effectively we'd be looking for this 2677. Now, looking at this smaller move here as just an A, B, and a C, the 1-to-1 is actually higher up here towards this 2370. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. What I would be expecting to see here is a 5-wave move down. Now, this is just looking like 3 waves currently, so this could mean that if we are looking at this as a corrective move, this B wave could still be in play, and we could see a move back up here where this becomes A, B, and C to the upside, looking for this B, and then looking for this C wave to the downside afterwards. It is also possible here that instead of this being ABC, what we could see is that this structure could just be W, X, and then we see a B, and a C down for a Y wave. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this, but effectively this blue box area is going to be our bullish support, and what we'd want to see is this hold. Now, the next thing we'd want to see if we want to try and confirm a bigger 5-wave structure up is we'd need to see this level hold. Then we need to see price push to the upside here, looking to hit this 2677 if we come down to this 0.618. If we do only go down to that 1-to-1, this would actually push this higher here, and we'd be looking for this 2719. Now, the idea here is that wherever this ends, we want to hit this 1.618. So this is pulled from the low to the high to the low, and then we want to hit this 1.618. Now, this 1.618 is fixed currently. So if we hit this target of this 2685, this would then align that we've had an extension here. And what this would mean is instead of this being A, B, and C, that we could actually have this as a bigger 5-wave move. Now, what we would then need to see if we do have something like this playing out is this would become 1, 2, this would all become 3. We'd be looking for a 3-wave move to the downside and then looking for another 5th wave. The key thing here is that if we do get a 5-wave move off this low, this will be the first step in actually saying that we could be potentially looking to rally. What we'd need to see then is a 3-wave move down, holding support above this low again, and then we'd be looking for that continuation to the upside. Now, the thing is, we need to be very careful in this area because there is still potential here that this could be a corrective move that is incomplete. And what we could have is something more along these lines. Now, in the previous video, we were saying we could also potentially just argue this as WXY for an A wave. And then we were saying that we could have just this as a B wave down. Now, we have come down towards this 854. So if we do start to see 5 waves to the upside here, this whole move could just be A, B, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside, and then we look to continue that move to the downside. So we need to be careful because, like we said, there's a couple of counts here where if we just see a 3-wave move up, we could be looking for that continuation to the downside. Now, it is also possible within this zone here that we could count this as A, B, and then we could still be looking for the C wave. Now, the C wave 1-to-1 is down here towards this 20 cents 81. And this would also align with coming into this purple box area that we discussed in the previous video. Now, the idea of this purple box is that if this is going to become something like an expanding flat, what we could see is that this whole move could be A, we get a bigger B wave down here, and then we still see a push to the upside in a C wave, just taking these lows of the A here, and then looking to take the highs of this A wave as well, looking to grab the liquidity in those zones. Now, if we do see something like this, this would then still align with that idea that we could still see that continuation afterwards. So the only way we can confirm that we've got a low in place here is moving above that 1.618 that we've got higher up here. And we need to see this, obviously hit this impulsive trigger here at this 45.67 for more confirmation that we are actually looking for that break. Now, if we fail to do so and we actually just see the C wave push up to this 1-to-1, like I said, we need to look out for that break to the downside. More locally here, if we are still within this blue C wave, what we could see is that we still need to push down lower here, looking to potentially look to target this 1382 or this 1618, which is lower down here. Like I said, that 1-to-1 is also lower into this area. The thing is, if this is a WX and a Y, I don't want to see it go too much deeper than this 2125. Once we start to break that level, it becomes less likely that it is a corrective count and more likely it is a impulse. Now, the way that we could potentially look to do this is by actually having this play out as a diagonal in the C wave. So what we'd say here is that this would be our A wave, this would be our B wave, and we're looking for something like this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because like I said in the previous example, this move here as A, B, and C, we have hit that 0.786. So if we start to break down here in 3 waves and we fail to push beyond this 2127, this is going to be our invalidation to the downside. If we see 3 waves down, 3 waves up, 3 waves down again, this would align with the idea that this move here could be a C wave diagonal, and then we'd be looking for that potential of a break to the upside from lower down. What we'd be expecting here is a small break of this wave 1, then a push back to the upside, failing to take the wave 2, and then taking another 3-wave move to the downside, looking for this 5th wave. Now, like I said, wave 3 can't cross this 2127, so if we start to break down below that level, then it becomes more likely that we are looking at a more bearish case here, where we could be looking at this move as still having a 5th wave to the downside. Like I said in the previous video here, we have the potential that we could also argue this is A, B, and we're looking for this as a C wave. Now, within this idea of a C wave, what we are saying is that this move to the upside here could just be a wave 4, and then we'd be looking for this direct breakdown for this wave 5. Now, within this idea here, the 5th wave target is actually here towards this 1922 to this 1627. So if we do continue to see price looking to break to the downside here, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this level here to see whether we find support. This also does have some confidence with one of our target boxes lower down here, which is sitting between this 1801 and this 1459. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this level if we do see price looking to break down into these zones. Now, if we are looking at that idea of that 5th wave, what we were talking about in the previous video is that we could actually see this develop as 1, 2, 1, 2 here. Now, if this is the case, as we've had an extension in this wave 1. Now, if this is the case, we'd say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and we're looking for another wave 2. So this would mean that we're going to see some extension within the structure here. Now, it is also possible that within this, what we could also argue is that this is 1, 2, 3, and we just never hit that 1.618. We could develop something like a triangle here, see a wave 5, see another 4, and see another 5, something like this. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. But at the moment, what I'm looking for here is the potential that there could be extension. It is also possible within this that we could have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This whole structure effectively becoming a bigger expanding diagonal once again, but these are not as common, so I'm just being mindful that, you know, I don't want to count it as that when I've got other counts available. If we do see a 3-wave move back to the upside and we fail to push above this 3187, which will be our invalidation, and we look to find resistance, most commonly this 382 to the 786, what I would then be looking for is the possibility we could see another push to the downside. Now, we need to be mindful, obviously, if we do see a bigger 3-wave move to the upside here, this whole move could also technically become an A, a B, and then we could just see a C wave to the downside. Now, that C wave 1-to-1 target would be here at this 1809, but this wouldn't really fit into the count. So we'd have to just be on the lookout that if something like this happens, it could actually indicate that, you know, this move isn't complete yet, and we could still see further downside coming in. But within this idea, what we could still see is a much more impulsive structure down, where we could see price look to push down towards this 1618. This would mean that we'd have an extension within this wave 3. The other thing that could happen here is that if we are looking at this as an extension within a wave 1, this could actually be 1, 2. We see this wave 2 come up, and then we see 3, 4, and 5 actually looking to complete between this the 0.618 here and this 786. If we do see 5 waves to the downside, that looks to complete into this zone. What we could then see is that this move could actually become 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 into this area, and then we would still have this as a 1, 2. So we'd get another fourth and a fifth, and then we get another fourth and a fifth. So this would just mean that there's extension to the downside, and what this could mean is that either we get a shallower move here into this 0.618 to the 786 area, or if this is extending out in a bigger way, we're looking for this 1476 to confirm this. So we need to be careful of this idea as long as we stay below this 3187. Until we actually break back above that, we need to be cautious of this more bearish scenario where we just actually look to break down directly. But as long as we hold this low here, we do have the potential for this impulse to play out, but we really need to start to see this developing, this third wave, and this third wave needs to push up to this 4567. Otherwise, it starts to fall apart. Having a look at the daily CPR lines here, what we can see is that we are currently below our central lines. These are also very tight here and are indicating that we could see volatility today. Now, what I want to see here is if we do move to the downside, we could potentially look to target out this S1 line here at this 37.77. This would also align with the previous day low here. So if we do see a three-wave move down here, this could actually look to reverse to the upside. If, however, we start to break down in a bigger way, other targets for today become this 23.37. We have this 22.97 and this 22.55 as potential downside targets. If, however, we see price looking to reverse, get back above these central lines of this 24.17, what we could see is price could actually look to try and target out these higher levels here. Targets to the upside for today would be this 24.58. We have this 24.97, 25.38, and this 25.79 as potential upside targets for today. Now, looking at the weekly pivot points here, what we can see is that we still have potential to find support on our central CPR lines, which are below us here at this 23.81. 23.71 and this 23.61. If we do continue to hold these levels, what we could see is price could actually look to be gravitated to the upside, looking to take this 24.81 level. Other targets would be this 25.70 and this 26.80 as potential upside targets. If, however, we start to lose these central lines here, what we could then see is price could actually look to push to the downside here, in which case 22.80 could potentially offer us support lower down. Now, if we start to lose that level, what we'd have as other targets to the downside for this week would be this 21.70, and we have this 20.81 as possible targets. Now, moving over here and having a look at the monthly pivots, what we can see here is that we are currently underneath our central CPR lines. So we have tested these and we've rejected. Now we are creeping back up into these. If we start to break down here, I will be keeping an eye out for an interaction with this 2011 lower down here. Other targets to the downside that we have for this month is this 1672 and this 1050 as potential downside targets. Now, if we do, however, look to push back to the upside here, we can potentially look to find resistance at this 2490. We have this 2626 and this 2767 as a potential resistance area. So if we do just see this idea of this just pushing up in three waves here, then we could look for that continuation down. Now, if we do look to push it back above these levels and start to find support, what we could see this month is a potential to come back up here and test this 29.65. We have this 35.80 and this 39.15 as potential targets for this month. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it is free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.